One cold winter morning, after a long night of heavy snow, the children in a little village rushed outside, their laughter echoing in the crisp air. The world was a blanket of pure white, and their imaginations were already racing. They began to roll huge snowballs, their red-gloved hands pushing and packing the fresh powder. Slowly, a figure began to take shape in the middle of the yard. It was a tall, proud snowman. They gave him an old bucket for a hat, tilting it just so. Two dark pieces of coal became his eyes, sparkling with a quiet curiosity, and for a nose, they chose a bright orange carrot, a splash of color against his snowy face. When their work was finally done, they stepped back, clapping their hands in delight. "Look," they shouted with joy, "our snowman is alive." Their voices were full of the magic only children can feel. As twilight painted the sky in shades of purple and orange, the children reluctantly went back to their warm homes. The snowman was left alone, standing silently under the silvery glow of the moon. The world around him was hushed and still, a kingdom of snow and shadows. Suddenly, a small, furry creature came bounding through the yard, its paws making soft prints in the snow. It was a little dog, and it stopped right in front of the snowman, tilting its head. "Woof, woof," it barked, its tail wagging excitedly. "Welcome to the yard. You're new here, aren't you?" The snowman, who had never spoken before, looked down at the lively creature with his coal-black eyes. His voice was soft, like the whisper of wind through pine trees. "Who are you?" he asked, a sense of wonder in his tone. "I'm the watchdog," the dog replied proudly, puffing out his chest. "I live right over there," he said, nodding his head towards a small wooden house next to a glowing window. "That's my kennel, right by the stove. It's so warm in there." The snowman's expression was one of pure puzzlement. He had only ever known the crisp chill of the winter air. "Warm," the snowman repeated, the word feeling strange on his snowy lips. "What does warm mean?" The little dog let out a small, surprised bark. "You don't know? Oh, it's the best feeling in the entire world." Inside the big house, there's a big iron stove. It glows a beautiful red and gives off this wonderful heat. Oh, there's nothing I love more than lying right beside it. The snowman turned his head towards the house. Through the frosty window pane, he could see it, a soft, inviting red glow that flickered and danced. It seemed to fill the room with a gentle light, a stark contrast to the cold blue moonlight that bathed the yard. His coal eyes shone like stars, reflecting the distant fire. "How beautiful it is," he sighed, a deep longing stirring within him. "I wish I could go inside. I wish I could see it up close." The little dog let out a playful laugh, but there was a hint of warning in his voice. No, you mustn't do that. You'll melt away. You're made of snow, remember." But the snowman barely heard him. His gaze was fixed on the window, on the mesmerizing dance of the warm light. The dog's warning was just a whisper against the loud call of the stove. From that night on, the snowman's world changed. Every every evening, as the stars filled the sky, he would stand perfectly still, his head turned towards the house. He would stare at the window for hours, dreaming of what it would feel like to be close to that radiant red light. He imagined the heat on his snowy skin, a sensation he couldn't comprehend but yearned for with all his being. The days passed, and the rhythm of the season began to shift. The sun, once a pale disk in the sky, started to shine with a stronger, more golden light. A gentle dripping sound began to fill the afternoons as icicles on the rooftops began to weep. The perfect blanket of snow slowly started to recede, revealing patches of damp brown earth beneath. The little dog noticed the change, and his barks grew a little sadder each day. "It's getting warmer, my friend," he would say, looking up at the snowman's slowly shrinking form. "Soon you'll disappear." The snowman never answered. His attention was completely captured by the stove, his longing growing more intense with each passing day. The warmth he craved was also the very thing that was ending his existence, but he didn't seem to mind. Then, one morning, the sun rose with an undeniable heat, bright and powerful in a clear blue sky. The world felt different, full of life and the promise of spring. The snowman's bucket hat, once perched so smartly, slipped and fell to the ground with a soft thud. His body began to shrink rapidly, water trickling away from him in little streams. At last, with a final quiet sigh, he melted completely, leaving only a small puddle of water where he once stood so tall. Later that day, the little dog trotted over to the spot where his friend had been. The puddle was already starting to evaporate in the strong sun. As he sniffed the damp ground, his nose bumped against something hard and dark, half buried in the last remnants of snow. He pawed at it curiously. It was the long iron handle of a stove poker. A wave of understanding washed over the little dog. He sat down and looked at the poker, and then back towards the house where the stove still sat. "Ah," he said softly to himself, a mix of sadness and revelation in his voice. "Now I understand." The stove poker was inside him all along. That's why he loved the stove so much. It was a part of him, a memory of warmth he didn't even know he had. And from that day on, a part of the snowman's story lived on in the heart of the little dog. Whenever the first flakes of winter began to fall again, blanketing the world in white, the dog would wag his tail. He would look at the yard where new snowmen might be built, and he would remember his friend, the snowman who had loved the warmth so dearly that he longed for the very thing that would make him disappear. A beautiful, bittersweet memory of a friend made of snow. Thank you so much for joining me for this story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a like and consider subscribing for more tales. See you next time.